Hallo und willkommen. Mein Name ist Kendra. Hello and welcome to the prep module. My name is Kendra and I'm very excited that you've decided to learn German. I'm one of the German teachers with empowermefirst.college and I'm one of the voices and faces that you will regularly hear and see in this course. This lesson is intended as a prep module. That is, I'll give you a very brief introduction to the German language and you will get some tips for how best to study German with this Moodle course. We'll look at who speaks German and discuss if German is complicated to learn. We'll also go through some basic grammar terminology and phenomena. And I promise that this won't be too technical, but it will help you understand lots of the things you learn later on in this course. I'll also talk about some tips for how to study German. Wer spricht Deutsch? Who speaks German? Deutsch, as you might know already, is the German word for the language. German is the most widely spoken and official or co-official language in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, the Italian province of South Tyrol. German is also an official language of Luxembourg and Belgium, and it is spoken by German communities in France, Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary. You can pause the video now if you need a moment to locate these European countries on the map. As you're probably already aware, German is also a recognized national language in Namibia due to its colonial history. Worldwide, about 95 million people speak German as a native language, as an L1, and around 80 million people speak German as an L2, as a second language. So you're studying a language that close to 200 million people will be able to understand. If you're interested in learning more about the German language in general, I recommend the Wikipedia article that I linked to on the slide. Warum soll ich Deutsch lernen und es nicht komplett der KI überlassen? Why should I learn German and not leave it to artificial intelligence? Well, since you're already here, I clearly don't have to convince you to learn German anymore, but let's quickly touch on the following question. In times of translation tools powered by artificial intelligence, do you really still need to learn a foreign language? Take a moment to consider this question. You can also pause the video for a bit if you like to think about this some more. That is indeed a very good question. There are powerful tools and apps out there that can do amazing things when it comes to translation. And these tools have got better and better over the last couple of years. In this course, we won't ignore these tools or pretend that they don't exist. What we're going to do is to empower you to use these tools efficiently, effectively, and confidently. But in order to do that, you'll first need to have a basic grasp of the German language and understand how the language works. So a little later in this course, in semester 2, we will look into if and how you can use online tools to help you communicate better in German. And we'll also look at what they can't do. We will align this with with what you're learning in your ICT classes. Speaking of communication, that's what learning a foreign language is all about, isn't it? Communication, above all, means building personal relationships with each other. And while there are websites out there that can translate what you write or say into another language more or less accurately, that won't help much with building these personal relationships, with building trust. Actually, quite the opposite, I'd say. Because if I had to communicate with someone through an app, we would probably be okay to talk about some absolute basics, but it would definitely be a struggle to have any more meaningful exchanges. And on top of that, learning a foreign language also means learning about another culture, another way of thinking and seeing the world. And an AI tool can't really help you with that. And of course, there's always the question of electricity and internet access. AI tools only work if you have both. So that's my appeal to you, not to refer to web-based translation tools as the default, but to make an effort to learn to understand, speak, read, and write German. Next, let's look at why this won't be as hard as you might think now. Ist Deutsch kompliziert? Is German complicated? Well, that depends. As you can see from the German title on the slide, when you compare it with the English translation, you'll often be able to guess the meaning of words, especially once you've managed to wrap your head around some of the basics. There are also many internationalisms in German, that is, words that are the same or very similar in many languages. Look at the list of words on this slide. There are words that are commonly used in German. I'm sure you'll be able to understand them straight away, although they might not always sound the way you expect. Sport, Auto, Hotel, Taxi, Bank, Restaurant, Computer, Hobby, Kindergarten. You can rewind and replay my reading of these words if you like, and you can repeat after me. Compare my pronunciation of these international words with yours. What's different? Maybe make a mental note of this right now, because we'll look into more detail about the differences in pronunciation between English and German a little later. Let's look a bit more closely at the similarities between some English and German words. The German language is in the same language family as English, and just like English, German vocabulary has also been influenced by Latin and other modern Romance languages. Again, take a moment to look at the list of words on this slide. You can also pause the video if you need more time. I'm sure you'll be able to understand the words on this slide without too much effort, but again, mind the difference in pronunciation. Haus, Familie, Fußball, Name, Schule, Universität, Kaffee, Tee, Toilette, Hand, Schuh. So, what's your verdict so far? Ist Deutsch kompliziert? Sometimes the similarities between German and English are still there, but you might have to think about it a bit. It's not that obvious. So look at these words here and have a guess at what they could mean. Sometimes it helps trying to read them out loud. You can also pause the video if you want to try it. Bett, bed, Lampe, lamp, Mutter, mother, Vater, father, Tochter, daughter, Wasser, water, Fuß, foot, Licht, light, Feder, feather, Straße, street. Let's look at some of these differences a bit more closely. So we've established that there are similarities between German and English because both languages are in the same language family. But there are also differences between the two languages because of a process called Lautverschiebung. Lautverschiebung. Sound shift. That was a phonological development that happened between the 3rd and the 8th century. Phonological refers to the sounds of a language. The German and the English languages back then were very different to what we speak today, and I won't go into too much detail at all right now, but what I wanted to show you is this. So, because there was a shift in how words were pronounced in the language family that both the old versions of German and English belong to, there are now some differences in the spelling and pronunciation that follow certain patterns. You can pause the video right now and read through the table. Isn't that fascinating? I'll read the German words for you now so you can get a better feel for what these differences in spelling do to the pronunciation. You can repeat after me if you like. Zahn, Zehn, Zeit, Salz, Pflanze, Wasser, Essen, Danke, Mutter, Vater, Bruder, Machen, Milch, Buch, Tochter, Licht, Schiff, Pfeffer. Now, you don't need to learn these words off by heart, but knowing about these differences, for example, that in a German word, an S or a double S often corresponds to a T in an English word, knowing this or remembering this will help you a lot when you try to make sense of German words, for example, when you try to read a text. And you might also find it helpful to remind yourself of these differences when studying vocabulary. So many similarities between German and English. That sounds encouraging, doesn't it? And it should, but there are, of course, quite a couple of false friends to look out for as well. Here are just a few amusing examples. Have a read. So, Bad isn't so bad at all because it's a bathroom. And Rock has got nothing to do with music or stones. It's an item of clothing. It's a skirt. In Germany, a chef doesn't usually cook a meal because it's your boss. Fabrik is not what your clothes are made out of, but it's the place where they have been made. It's a factory. Gymnasium is not usually where you do a lot of physical exercise, but rather some mental training. It's a high school or a grammar school. And Rente is not what you pay to a landlord, but it's a pension, so money a person who's retired will receive. Kind might be kind, but not necessarily. Kind is German for child. Grammatik, grammar. Grammar refers to the rules that govern a language. For your first language, your mother tongue, your native language, you will know these rules instinctively. It's the voice in your head that tells you if something sounds right or not. When you learn a foreign language, you obviously don't have that yet, so it helps to talk and think about these rules. But don't worry, this won't be too technical at this stage. But I want you to familiarize yourself with some very basic terminology and concepts, because this will make things so much easier for you later on in this course when we look at some of the rules for the German language that you will need to know about in order to communicate effectively. Let's look at some of the important parts of speech, Wortarten in German. Nomen, or nouns, are words that refer to a person, a thing, or concept. For example, Mann, Sonne, Haus, Auto, Bett, Land. In German, nouns are very easy to spot because they're always capitalized, always. They're always spelled with a capital letter. Nouns are often accompanied by an article, Artikel in German. Artikel are little words like der, die, das, ein, eine. In German, articles often change the endings. So you might see ein Mann or einen Mann, or eine Sonne or einer Sonne. But don't worry about this too much, at least not for now. So whether ein ends in e, es, er, doesn't matter, they're still the same word. Verbs, or Verben in German, are words that refer to activities. In English, they usually have a to in the basic form. So to sleep, to eat, to go, to speak. In German, verbs in their basic form usually have an en ending. So for example, gehen, to go. But this ending again changes depending on the person the activity refers to. Let's look at the example here. Ich gehe in die Schule. I go to school. Gehst du auch in die Schule? Are you also going to school? Here, the ending of the verb changes depending on whether the sentence is about me or you. We'll look at this phenomenon in more detail a little later in this course, but for now, keep in mind that whether it's gehen, gehe, or gehst, it's still the same word with the same meaning, go. Adjektive und Adverbien, adjectives and adverbs. An adjective indicates what someone or something is like. An adverb indicates how someone does something. These words also often change their ending. For example, gut, good in English, can be an adverb like in Ich singe gut. I'm good at singing, or literally I sing well. Or it can be an adjective. Sie sind gute Sänger. They are talented singers, or literally they are good singers. Note how gut and gute still have the same meaning, good. So don't get confused by adjectives gaining or losing endings. They still mean the same thing. Morphology, that simply refers to the forms that words can have. A simple example from English would be that you would refer to a single young person as a child, but several of them would be children. The form of the word changes, but it still refers to one or several young humans. In German, you will encounter this a lot, but it sounds worse than it actually is. Trust me. Pause the video now and read through the examples. Can you figure out what they mean? Even though there are slight differences to the basic form house, the meaning is still related to house. Hast du ein Haus? Do you have a house? Ich habe zwei Häuser. I have two houses. In den Häusern scheint Licht. There's light in the houses. Bist du zu Hause? Are you at home? Ich mache Hausaufgaben. I do homework. Kaffee nach Art des Hauses. That would be a specialty coffee. Another two crucial concepts to understand for learning German are Subjekt und Objekt, subject and object. Pause the video now and read the three examples. Ich trinke einen Kaffee. I drink a coffee. Er fährt das Auto. He drives the car. Maria liebt Musik. Maria loves music. In these examples, the underlined words in blue are the subject of each sentence. The subject of a sentence is the person or thing that does the action. You can ask who or what is doing the action. For example, ich trinke einen Kaffee. The person doing the action of drinking is ich, I. The words in pink, in italics, are the objects of each of the three sentences. An object is the person or thing that an action is done to. For example, in fährt das Auto, is doing the action of driving, so is the subject, and he's doing the action of driving to or with or in the car, das Auto. So das Auto is the object. You might ask, why is this important to be able to identify subjects and objects? Well, it is important because it'll help you to make sense of some German sentences. The thing is, like in these three examples, the subject usually comes at the beginning of a sentence. But unlike in English, there's some flexibility in the word order in German, depending on what you want to express. For example, in this sentence, den Kaffee trinke ich jetzt. The object, den Kaffee, is the first word of the sentence. That's odd, isn't it? Not for German speakers. You can phrase a sentence like this if you want to stress that what you drink right now is coffee, but something else you might drink later. So let's summarize. The subject of a sentence is the person or the thing doing the action. The object is the person or thing receiving the action. Usually the subject is at the start of a sentence, but not always. Okay, let's get to our last part of this video, how to study German with this Moodle course, some tips and tricks. As we've seen, you will be able to understand many German words and phrases straight away. This course will use English to guide you through the lessons and study materials, but there won't be a translation provided for every single German word or sentence. And that is quite deliberate. We want you to make an effort to understand what you hear and read, trying to guess the meaning and deduce meaning from context. Why? Because this is how we learn best, by constructing our own meaning and making an effort. And B, because these are very important real-life strategies, because you can't always look something up or Google something. So let's try this. Pause the video and read this short text. Use all the information you can to make sense of the text, the image, the names, internationalisms, numbers, and just in general what you know about the world. I'm pretty sure you'll have been able to make sense of most of this short text about Maria living in Munich in Germany. From the image, you can guess what Maria's job is, can't you? Can you find the word for work? Arbeite, correct? And can you identify the word for waitress in the text? Kellnerin, that's right. And I'm sure you'll have an idea what languages Maria speaks as well. English, Spanish, French, and Russian, that's right. So when studying German with this course, or any foreign language for that matter, it is crucial that you make use of context and clues to construct meaning of what you're reading and hearing. Don't immediately resort to dictionaries, translation tools, or the glossary. Having just stressed that you need to make use of context information when trying to understand texts, you might come across words that you just can't figure out from context. And that's okay. For each topic, you will have access to a glossary in Moodle, but some words might not be in the glossary. In such cases, look the word up in a dictionary. If you have access to a printed dictionary, that's great. If not, there are plenty of free online dictionaries available. Here are some suggestions. A little later in this course, we will also look at how to use a dictionary, but for simple translations, you should be able to navigate them for now. From learning psychology research, we know that most people will learn best if they do something with the information they're learning. Write down words, phrases, and concepts you learn in this course, ideally by hand. Try to structure your notes in a way that makes sense to you. If you can, use colors to highlight important things. You can also use icons like arrows or exclamation marks or smiley faces to highlight important information. Use your notes to revise regularly. Actively doing something with the information you're learning helps you to remember. Rewatch videos several times and pause videos to repeat words and phrases you hear. Try to use new words and phrases in context that apply to you and your life. Talking to yourself in German might feel a little strange initially, but it's an important strategy for language learning. Gut gemacht, well done. That is it for the prep module, and I hope you found the information and tips useful. You can re-watch this video as many times as you like, and there are also practice activities and quizzes in the Moodle lesson.